We'll be live.
Go time, baby.
That's okay. That's well. Every week you come up with a new favorite of mine. That's pretty good. That was the most
These are
aggressive one.
genuine. These are genuine reactions, you guys. I don't tell Armin what I'm going to say. Like, I could come on here and say some very bad things right at the beginning, and he trusts me. So actually vote on some of these so I can stop like coming up with new ones. I mean, so far I'm doing great though. I keep topping the last one, so I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep it going. But
it keeps getting better and better. Yeah. All right. So should I change mine? I'm just saying it will be live.
No, that's great. No, it's classic. What are you talking about? That's like no. It totally fits. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So we're gonna be answering Patreon questions. If you want us to answer your questions, consider becoming a patron. Link in the description. Other than answering your question, another benefit of becoming a patron is that you get the nude version of our blasphemous art. Right, so we have our blasphemous art. The clothed version of it is available for free to anybody who subscribes to our newsletter. You can subscribe to our newsletter in the description. But the nude version of it is only available to our patrons. They are the best, sexiest blasphemous art you have. Recently, we have had Muhammad and Krishna together. We have a lot of lesbian hijabi art. Yeah. So if you're interested in that, so
really worth it, folks. I honest opinion on it. It's very worth it. So I mean, I'm not gonna say too much about why I think it's so worth it, but it's really great.
Yeah. Oh, also, if you're a YouTube member, you get to come up here and talk to us live on there. Oh, we just had a new YouTube member right now. Look at that. And we also answer super chats. If you want to use super chats, we also answer that. So yeah, if you thank you so much, Metatron, for becoming a YouTube member. So that means that after we answer all the Patreon questions and all the super chats, I will provide a link on the community tab of YouTube, which only the YouTube members can see, and you can click on it and come and chit chat with us if you want at that point. All right, let's get to the Patreon questions and super chats. Let's actually start with a super chat by Mustafa. It's not even a question, it's just a super chat. Mustafa saying, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEF-CON on some turkey meat. Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, thank you. Well, thank you for the $5 super chat. Okay, so
eat a bunch of turkey. Like,
eating a bunch of turkey. Yeah. All right, let's get some. Okay, god damn it. Let's start with some normal questions before we get to the insane Asian American questions, right? Yeah. So Higgs boson asks normal questions here, which actually enriches the value of the stream. Unlike some people, unlike Asian American, who ask questions that are just like, I don't know, random and not very serious, which we need here right now at this stream, Asian American. Thank you very much. Higgs boson is asking, why is FIFA appeasing Qatar rather than trying to get Qatar to change their behavior? Many people with rainbow signs were banned from entering stadiums. I mean, FIFA itself is a corrupt organization. You act like FIFA is like a positive influence that it could be on Qatar. I don't know. Maybe it should be the other way around. Why is Qatar not influencing FIFA? I don't know which one. I think FIFA is worse than Qatar.
It's honestly hard to know sometimes. I don't think FIFA has the power to like arrest people or anything, so maybe that's why Qatar is worse.
If they had the powers, they would.
They of course they would. But I mean, just not even trying to be like cynical or anything, just trying to be realistic. Why is FIFA appeasing all of these things? Why are they putting their reputation on the line and rescinding a policy that they had literally like 2 days before the start of the competition? It's because they want the money. Like, it's because they're going to get paid. So they're not going to say no at this point. They've got the tickets sold. They've got the vendors paid for. Like, yeah, they're going to make the billions of dollars that they want to make. Like,
I mean, yes, it's rare when the answer is just, it's just about the money. Sometimes people say, but in this case, it's just like,
yeah. And they've made that pretty clear. Again, this isn't like, it's not like speculation or anything. You can just go look at a lot of the statements that these people have made. You can just go look at the individuals who have openly taken bribes. I mean, yeah, it's really a bad organization just across the board. And it should be, because there are so many people that give a crap about, soccer and the World Cup as a whole. Like, we should try to figure out a better way to run this, because, we probably can, right? I mean, we probably can.
I don't know. I think there's so much money. It's difficult.
Yeah,
I
sporting is really corrupt.
Very corrupt. And there's no competition to FIFA, so that's
Right.
why would you change your behavior when there's nowhere else to go?
Yep.
Right.
That's one of the problems with places like them and the International Olympic Committee. There's no other place to go. So
this is why competition makes things, but competition is often a more effective way of causing better behavior than regulation, right? And when you have no competition, you get stuff like FIFA. Oh, Doorknob Habit is asking a very important question.
Yes, it is. I was actually, I actually
Read it
have.
first.
Oh, so Doorknob Head asks, is it evil universe secularity? And the answer is yes. You always know when it's an evil twin or an evil clone whenever they suddenly have a beard. So that is the case. I'm sorry for everyone, but it's now just like 3.5% more evil on this channel. So yeah, sorry about that. But
all right. Okay, so unfortunately, we have to answer some Gaussian American questions because there's a lot of them. Okay, Gaussian American is asking, should human rights violators be allowed to have tax paid? You want to read this? I don't want to read it.
Should human rights violators be allowed to have tax-paid BDSM/D&D games so they may enact their darker desires in a consent-filled fantasy setting as a form of therapy? Or, here's the other option, Armin, do we take their corneas and give them to the protesters they blinded? My first thought is, what if they didn't blind any protesters? What if that wasn't, do we just, no.
I don't even want to answer this question.
Yeah,
I don't even answer, okay, but if I have to, I will answer none of them. Okay, here's the answer. Neither is good.
Yeah, I don't think
there's so many things, serious, important things happening in the world. Like, why are you making us do this? Like, why are you not asking questions about relative things that we could use as an excuse to, like Higgs boson or D, who ask quick questions? Like, I don't know, what is this question?
I'm gonna go with no to either.
No,
I'm not a fan. Not a big fan. So I know, bold stance, but
all right, let me check out another non-Asian American question. Why does Pakistan keep bringing religion in sports? They portray their win in cricket as Allah's victory, and recently got too excited about Saudi's victory against Argentina. Because Pakistan's entirety, Pakistan's main culture is Islam.
Yeah.
Right. And so what else do they have? And so, yeah. And it's also because their culture is Islam, it's a good way to get other countries win as a win for themselves as well. Like, if Saudi wins, like, woohoo, we won. But that's not your team. Like, well, it's Islam, so we won. You can't do that with other countries. Like, other countries can't come up and say, like, woohoo, another country won, that means we won. You can't do that, right? But you can't do that if you're Pakistan.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, because sports are tribal to begin with. We can add another element of tribalism here. We can get some people on our side, on our team. I mean, that makes sense to me, honestly. I would, if we had more, theocratic Christian nations around the world, I wouldn't be surprised if they did the same thing. So,
I mean, another reason why does Pakistan keep bringing religion in sports? Because they have nothing worth of value to be proud of, right?
I didn't want to say that. I'm glad you said that. I was going to say, what else does Pakistan have?
I mean, they have. What do you have, Pakistan? I have religion. And I mean, they have other things. I don't know. Some people get offended, but it's not that big. It's mostly just Islam. It's just Islam. Yeah. Yeah. So there's that.
It was a surprise. It was a surprise win, by the way. Saudi Arabia beating Argentina. That was a big upset.
Oh yeah. Apparently, I don't know much about soccer, but was it because I mean I know enough to know Argentina is like a major team, just like Brazil and so. Was it because Argentina's team got worse, or because Saudi was so good?
I think there have been people that have said, you know, on both sides, there are analysts that have said, well, Argentina wasn't really playing as a unit today, and they just couldn't really connect those passes. Or it could have just been the fact that the Saudi Arabian team over the last few years had just done a really good job. I think at the end of the day, it was more fluke than it was anything. I mean, I don't want to take anything away from those players. Of course, they're much more skilled and athletic than I am. I'm just saying that, like, I bet if you continually put these two teams up against each other, you'd see Argentina winning out more on a record that makes sense too. That's why, you know, sometimes these big competitions like this, it's hard to say like who's the better team. You only get to play once and then you kind of move on, you know? So it's like, is you know, okay, Japan beat Germany today. Well, Germany beat so-and-so. Does that actually mean that Japan could beat that team? Well, you have to put them on the field and play. So
did you
go ahead.
Did you see Iranians celebrating Iran team's loss, cheering for UK? Yeah,
I did see that.
That is crazy. No,
go ahead.
No, in Iran, the first religion is soccer. The second religion is Islam, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up watching people go crazy over the national team winning. Like that was like everything they were hoping for. It was their dreams. Yeah. They celebrated that more than like their own children if their team won. So for me to see Iranians all of a sudden celebrate every time the other team, like I saw videos of people in Iran with the UK flag celebrating the fact that Iranian team lost. Like, gosh. Wow. So I was like, wow, this is so intense. The Iranian, for people who don't know, the Iranian people have become so anti-Iranian regime, and they consider the Iranian team to be an extension of the Iranian regime, especially because they didn't speak out the way they expected them to against the regime crackdown on protests and stuff like that. That they are doing something that it was unimaginable. Like these are the same people who would give their legs if they had to make the national team win. If that's how, like, if that's sacrifice of eyeball or something, they would have done it, right? And now they're celebrating the other side. It's crazy. Yeah.
If I was one of the people high up in the Iranian regime right now, I would be very much thinking about changing the shitty policies that my regime is enacting. But I mean, I'm not one of those people, you know. I haven't had my whole nation cheer for another team instead of our national team. But again, if I was in their position, I would feel bad about that. I would start being a better person. So that's just
at this point, that's not what people want.
Like, they just want them gone.
Yes.
Yeah. Then get out.
Yeah. So, by the way, that's actually very interesting because a lot of people from a lot of politicians like, oh, the Iranian regime should stop doing this and start treating the people better. And a lot of people in Iran are like, no, they should just drop dead. They should just drop dead. We don't want. Actually, now it has gotten to a point that if they do make any changes, it makes the Iranian people angrier. They're like, it makes them angrier to the point like, oh, you think this is gonna save you? Like that's how they're saying it's watching it. Yeah. Man. Anyways, well, let's go to the next. Oh, we have to unfortunately answer another Asian American question. Oh my God, Asian American, why do you do this to us? When Mao liberated Chinese from the, you know what, you read? I don't want to. I don't want to read.
You see what happens. You see what happens, Gasians. When you do things, they have consequences. Okay, now I have to do more work. When Mao liberated Chinese from the old superstitions and the three teachings, he encouraged the destruction of cultural/religious artifacts. The corpse of the Wanlin emperor was dragged out and publicly burned. Do you see
Oh,
Iran going down a similar path? If so, should this be encouraged or discouraged?
okay. Wait, actually, this is
Yeah, you could have just
surprisingly a good question. I
still
thought
could have
this was one
shortened
of
it.
those ridiculous. Yeah, no, I thought it's going to talk about. Like, okay, fine. This is good. This is a good
Yeah,
question.
this is a good
Surprising,
question.
surprising. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually do see, like, so in Iran, a lot of people are talking about what do they do after the regime is toppled, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of the discussions are, do we burn the mosques, or do we mm, make them go boom boom? I don't want to say the word.
Hmm.
What do we do with the shrines? It would be beautiful to see them like explode and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like, and they were like, should we they want the end of, like, it's crazy because, like, they don't understand, some of these people, that a, a good percentage of Iranian people are still religious and they need
Mhm.
mosques, right? um and they're acting like the falling of the regime would be like the end of religion in Iran.
Mm.
And they're like,
Yeah.
no, that's not gonna happen. And
Yeah.
you given that a huge percentage of Iranians are religious, they might not be the majority anymore, but they're still a huge, a couple, at least
A lot.
30, yeah, like at
Yeah.
least 30 million or
Yeah.
something. Yes, 20 or 30
Not
million
a
of them
not a
are.
small number.
Yeah, not a small number, right? So you, like, going after people's, and also after the religion is going to cause civil war after, like, so you
Mhm.
want to, after removing, and they're like, oh yeah, but we want secularism, and I'm like, that's not secularism. That's actually more in line with the Islamic Republic.
Mhm.
If you want religion out of politics, you have to let people exercise their religion.
Yeah.
You have to provide freedom of religion in the country. And also, another thing that they don't understand is, uh, that I mean, they must understand, I guess they're not considering, is that
Mhm.
a lot of the protesters are Muslim. I mean,
Mhm.
I know, like, a lot of the anti-regime people are extremely anti-religious, and justifiably so. I'm anti-Islam, they're anti-Islam, but they are, if they eventually get to an Iran where they get to criticize religion publicly and openly and aggressively, that they have achieved that thanks to a lot of Muslims
Mhm.
that were in the streets. I mean, most of the people who are dying, most of the people who are being killed in the streets by the regime are Muslims. So what are you going to do? You're going to go burn their mosques after
Mhm.
after. So I mean,
Yeah.
what you could ask for is for the mosques to stop being funded by the government. That's a reasonable request, but to
Yeah.
burn them down and to destroy them, that's unrealistic and stupid.
Yeah. And I'm never really a big fan of like destroying cultural, historical artifacts and stuff. I think no problem with taking them down from a place of veneration. If they're in the city square and you've got this big statue of the Ayatollah and you say, hey, this shouldn't be here anymore. Like, yeah, I think that's probably reasonable. But like, I think the way that we learn from the bad things in the past is not by destroying them and pushing them under the rug, right? It's by remembering the terrible crap that we've done as humans. And yeah, it's the history of all our people. That was one of the biggest things. I mean, that's not true.
I
It's not
mean,
one of
the
the go ahead.
Khomeini statues and Qasim Soleimani statues, I'm okay with you wanting to burn them down. Like, I mean, there are too
That's
much of
that's
it.
fair. That's fair. There's
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some stuff that could go in the burn pile. And there's some
yeah.
stuff that's like, hey, this is more like, actually like national, historical, cultural
Or
thing. And
just utility for people who want to pray, right? It's
yeah.
a mosque. Like,
Well,
they
yeah,
could
the
be like,
mosque for sure. Yeah.
yeah. People are like, some people are saying, okay, well, keep the historical mosques because they have historical value, but the
Sure.
ones that are just mosques and are not ancient, let's burn those down. I'm like, no, I
Uh,
mean, it has
uh,
utility. No,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, it's not your property. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't
yeah.
just
I
go,
mean, yeah, if you're
yeah,
just taking it over from somebody, that's not cool. Yeah, I'm with
yeah,
you
that's
there. I'm with
yeah.
you.
I mean, we have to respect property rights, right?
Mhm.
This is not the right way to fight religion. This is
Maybe
someone else.
maybe you could see about the attendance of the mosque, say, and pick like 5 of the lowest attended ones and be like, we're gonna shutter these and like build a school or a park or a hospital or so. Maybe I don't know. Maybe
Or
repurpose it.
maybe if you really want to burn one, you have to first buy it. How about
raise a bunch
that?
of money and buy it and then destroy it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
I'm, you
Buy
know
it. They
what?
were like, it was my property. I want to burn
I'm
it
okay with this. I think we found a
now.
good compromise.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, we have an emperor asking questions.
Oh,
Emperor Lusco. Do
nice.
you think that Christmas is a Christian holiday? Starting around this time of year, I often get told that it's not. This is usually a response to me saying that I don't celebrate Christmas because I don't believe in Jesus. It's definitely Christian because if people say it's not Christian because it has pagan roots, then Christianity is not Christian.
Yeah. Nothing is Christian.
Nothing is Christian
Yeah.
because
Nothing is
because
any
Christian,
religion. It's all
yeah,
freaking, yeah, yeah,
everything comes from things that came before
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um,
I think the way it's practiced a lot of times, especially in the United States, um, these days, the vast majority of the religious aspect is gone. Um, Not completely, of course, and yeah, obviously, like it's literally in the name, right? It's like you just cut off the last 3 letters of either of those words, Christmas, Christian, and you're like, oh my gosh, Christ! Like, yeah, yeah. So it definitely is Christian. But
yes,
it's kinda
but
like Halloween. Like, Halloween isn't exactly, like, pagan or witchcraft, really. It's just more of these, secular rituals and stuff that we do to gather and hang out.
yeah. However, even though I do believe it's Christian, I don't think that's a good reason not to celebrate it.
Mhm.
It is Christian, but it's been secularized.
Right.
Okay, secularization is something that I very much like about religious rituals. I don't like reform, right? I do like secularization. I have came up with these two. I have separated these different movements. I call one of them secularization, and I call one of them reform. Right? Reforming religion is when you keep the fundamental beliefs, but try to change some interpretations or certain practices about that religion. Right? For example, reforming Christianity or reforming Islam. And I think that's a harmful practice because the main problem with religion is its core beliefs. It's the methodology in which it comes to conclusions. It's a faith aspect. It's a revelation aspect. If you keep maintain that rotted root, even if you keep cutting the edges, like what grows out of it's still corrupted, and other problematic things will keep growing out of that bad methodology, right? So
Mhm.
that's why I'm always against reforming religion. However, I am very much in favor of secularizing religion because
Mhm.
secularization of religion is the exact opposite of reform. It actually keeps some of the things on the sides, and it removes the core belief.
Yeah.
So it removes secularization of religious practices or rituals is when you remove the belief, but maintain some of the practices and traditions. And because the belief is not there anymore, you don't have any justification for things that are a part of the practice that might be costly, like suicide bombing
Yeah.
or anything else like child beating when it comes to Christianity, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have any way to justify it. You don't have the belief. So the only things that you could keep from the tradition are things that have cultural value to you,
Mhm.
or have some nostalgic value to you,
Community
or just
building.
community building value
Yeah.
to you, or are just fun.
Mhm.
There's just
Mhm.
like or has some artistic value to you,
Mhm.
or historic value to you. So you could keep that part of the religion, And the problem we have with religion is not these harmless traditions. The problem that we have with religion is the problematic beliefs, right? So there's no reason for you not to engage in the fun traditions as long as you don't have the belief. Like, why shouldn't you? It's kind of like doing playing Dungeons and Dragons. You don't believe in this stuff, like you're having fun with it. It's kind of like enjoying Harry Potter. Like, you don't believe in it, you can still have fun with it even though you don't believe in it, right? So I think Christmas has been very much secularized in most places, and that's why it makes it a harmless, fun activity, even though it's based on harmful beliefs. You have gutted out that harmful element of it, and now it's secularized enough. And in fact, secularization of religious tradition helps with fighting religion, right? Because a lot of people who don't leave religion is because of the emotional attachment they have with the not so harmful parts of religion, right? So for example, imagine if somebody wants to leave Islam, they're not. One thing that might be keeping them in is not that they want to believe in Allah or Muhammad or the Quran. It's just that that's their community. They enjoy the traditions. They have some nostalgic elements with their childhood, with their family. It's part of their identity. And so it's not really about the beliefs. It's about those emotional aspects of religion. So the process of secularization lets them say, like, you know what? You could keep all of that. It allows, like, you could, all of those things that you enjoy about your religion, you could get rid of the belief and you could keep all of that. So it makes it easier to get rid of the belief, because if you tell people the only way to get rid of the belief is to also get rid of the identity, the community, the attachments, the traditions, then you're like, okay, then I need to keep Allah and Muhammad and belief in the Quran. But if you make it easy for them, like, you could get rid of Muhammad, you could get rid of belief in Allah, you could get rid of belief in the Quran and still go to an Eid festival and enjoy all of that. Or like, okay, you just reduce the barriers and now you're going to encourage more people to leave the religion, right? If you tell a Christian that to leave Christianity, they have to stop celebrating Christmas, then you're going to make it less likely for them to leave Christianity, right? So secularization makes the process a lot easier.
I would love to go to a Diwali festival. I'm not Hindu, but it just looks like a really fun time. Like, you can take part in the cool stuff and get rid of the crap.
Yeah, exactly. There's, I think a lot of religious traditions are fun. I have no problem with rituals. I have no problem with religious rituals, except a virgin sacrifice, throwing them down a volcano. That's problematic.
Yeah.
But most religious rituals, I have no problem with them. It's the belief system that I have a problem with.
Thank goodness, though, Armin, that you said that. Like, I think most of us here were like, I bet you Armin's participating in some of these virgin sacrifices. Oh, man.
Okay. All right.
What do we got next?
All right, let's go to Asian American. Let's hope this is one of those good ones. Okay, you read this one.
Psilocybin was once banned as savage backwardness in an attempt to destroy indigenous knowledge and culture. Now it is being used in conjunction with talk therapy to treat PTSD, addiction, and eating disorders. How do you think we as secularists can prevent similar arrogance from clouding our science in the future?
By just testing things scientifically without judging them beforehand. Like, just because something is even religious or has a religious background, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. You have to test it.
Right.
Like, for example, Hindus say cow urine has medical benefits, and Muslims think camel urine has medical benefits. So we could make fun of it, or we could wait. We could be patient, do some experiments, and then make fun of it. No, I wasn't suggesting that we shouldn't make fun of them. We should definitely make fun of them.
We should just wait until we have the data to show.
Be patient. Be patient when you ridicule. Okay, ridicule, but just wait for the data, and then when you see it has no medical benefits, then start making fun of them. But just check the data. Maybe it has some,
I think that's honestly the easiest, because we're in the United States for sure. We're almost finished with FDA trials for psilocybin as well as MDMA, which is MDMA is ecstasy, psilocybin, magic mushrooms. But yeah, we have shown some medical benefits to it. And the answer in the future, just don't rush to conclusions. That's a really, like, it just means that we all have to be patient with the science to actually catch up, right? When we have a hypothesis, that doesn't mean that it's true yet. We have to actually do the tests.
Don't know about the thing, but cow urine does have medical benefits for the cows that peed it out. True.
Got us there. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that one.
Yeah. Ridicule thrives on patience. Yeah,
that's right.
True.
That's right. Yeah. The funniest jokes take time, like you want to give a little bit of time, if somebody had come out the day after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and made a joke, like that just wouldn't have been funny, but now
it would have been. No, it would. Maybe the funny part would be the fact that he didn't wait. Like that would...
I would love to find a news article that's like 1861, man makes joke about Abraham Lincoln's assassination and is arrested.
Would he? At that time, would he have been arrested?
Like, I honestly don't know. Like, I honestly have no idea. I would assume no, just based on like the whole history of stuff. But then again, we had the First Amendment codified, and then like the very next president was like, I'm gonna pass a law that basically makes that non-existent. So I don't know, man. It's a lot of hypocrisy in the U.S. Don't make me justify it all.
All right. Higgs boson is asking, how is the right wing reacting to the recent shooting in Colorado? Are they trying to stay silent or trying to kind of defend it? I mean, they wouldn't openly defend it, obviously.
Yeah.
What I've seen is, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, so I haven't been following a bunch, but there have been a couple of recent things. Apparently, the lawyers for the shooter have come out and said that the shooter is non-binary, and I've heard that there were a couple of the further right-wing individuals in the U.S. that have kind of picked.
That's a troll move, I think.
So some people have said that too on both sides. And I don't know. They say they're non-binary. I say okay. But at the end of the day, it does feel a little disingenuous to me for sure. But there have been some right-wing commentators that have used that to kind of say, to continue to push that garbage of the whole, look, see, this was the problem. They were non-binary and that was why they did all this stuff, even though there's a lot of other really obvious reasons, like the fact that the father of the shooter is apparently just a really bad person. Like, there's a couple of videos of interviews with him. And it's rough, because they say to him, like, your son was like at a gay bar the other night, and he was like, what, he's not gay? And they're like, no, he's been accused of like shooting a bunch of people. And basically his response was, whew, thank goodness he is not gay. So that's pretty terrible, I would say.
So the grandfather also is like a mega
yeah. Also,
so this is right-leaning. This is right-wing terrorism in the United States, right? Yeah. So don't let the whole non-binary thing.
And non-binary or not, this individual was involved in a lot of this propaganda, was involved in a lot of this hateful and harmful rhetoric that a lot of people have called out over the years and said this is the consequence of allowing people to continue to just dehumanize an entire group of people. It causes people to think that this is an okay thing to do. So, I mean,
this is mega terrorism.
Yeah.
So this is exactly it. But okay, so the way I've seen right-wing people react, a lot of them, is to say that, oh, they're using this terrorist attack as a way to silence us from pointing out that the LGBT movement is like a grooming movement and stuff like that. That's what they're saying. So that's their reaction. But to be accurate, they're accusing the entire LGBT movement of being a bunch of groomers
Mm-hmm.
is the reason why we have attacks like this,
Yeah.
right? So all the Ben Shapiro's, the Matt Walsh's, the MAGA hat, the MAGA Republicans, all the narratives that they have they are responsible for these attacks to happen. I mean,
Yep.
what do you think will happen eventually if you uh, kind of present the entire LGBT as a
Mm-hmm.
danger to children? This is what you get out of it, right? This is kind of how we got to fascists taking over Germany,
Mm-hmm.
right? It started with the conspiracy theories over Jewish people, and condemning them all of certain actions, and eventually it led to enough justification for people to bring Adolf into power to fix all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of saying a repeat of the same events happening in the United States, which is kind of terrifying because we might. I mean, a lot of people predicted this. A lot of people predicted this, that these kind of narratives will lead to events like this, and um, people like me were wondering if they're exaggerating. Like we were just waiting to like, is that an exaggeration? Is that an accurate prediction? And apparently they were right. Apparently they were like, I mean, I wasn't making those predictions. I was just wondering if they are exaggerating or not. And apparently
Mm-hmm.
they were not exaggerating, as you can see.
Yep. And it's that rhetoric of othering and dehumanizing and so forth. Yeah, not just Germany in the 30s, but Italy right now, France right now, Sweden right now, Hungary right now. I mean, you name a place around the world, it's the exact same. It is the exact same rhetoric. It is the exact same play, and that is why those of us that do try to call this stuff out can confidently say this leads to violence, because it has repeatedly,
Yeah.
and it will, and this type of stuff will continue to happen if that dehumanization of the LGBT community continues in such a fashion by the politicians. Also, a conversation, an issue that nobody else in the world deals with but the United States is this type of gun violence, is this type of death from firearms. That is not me saying every single firearm needs to be taken and gathered and destroyed. No, it's me saying, how in the world are we the only place that has this issue? And funny enough, we do actually have some answers on this, and there are some basic things that we could do to stop this type of violence and mass shooting and deaths. We have this happen every single week in the United States. Every single week, stuff like this happens. So, when are we going to do something about it? I don't know. We haven't for the last few decades. So, I have no idea. But
I would say that any American right now that doesn't vote to keep Republicans out of power is also responsible for this.
mm-hmm. If you're voting,
Right?
if you're saying, oh well, I'm a single issue voter and I just want lower taxes, and I'll just accept the fact that this person is literally calling for a genocide of homosexual individuals or whatever, you are complicit. You're voting in somebody that is openly stating that they are going to do these types of things and continue this rhetoric and criminalize these people. You are complicit. So
All right.
yeah, on that not so fun note.
Yeah, let's go. All right, Gagin American is asking, should UK force the royal family to pay 700 years of unclaimed inheritance taxes, adjusted for inflation for the what duchy? I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, the Duchy of Lancaster is just like so dukes and duchesses and all that good stuff,
Oh,
like
okay.
about the different I don't care much about like royal lineages and so forth. I don't know. I think it's kind of BS that the royal family in the UK gets tax money. I think that's BS. I think they should probably stop getting all of that?
No, I think you can't go
I don't know if
if
you
as
pay
much
that.
as that was as much as that was a bad policy for them not to have been paying those taxes and stuff like that. You can't, if you change the law, you cannot go and execute a law at a time that that law was not being was not there. Right? I cannot make illegal now at date starting today, and then go execute the new law at a date before the law was being put in place. You have to play by the books, and given that the law was there, you can't do that. You can't go and
And because I don't think the UK royal, I think there are stipulations actually codified in law in the UK about what the royals do and don't have to pay tax wise and stuff. And I mean, yeah, it's a big piece of land, but if that's what their law says, that the royals that own it don't have to pay taxes, then I mean, again, I personally would say that that's not a great system. But then again, I'm just proud to be an American, I guess. We don't have monarchs over here. Suck it. We get all our ways to live our lives from some jerk on TV. So yeah. We're doing better.
All right, let's do another engagement question. All right. I don't like this question at all.
You don't. I was gonna say, I'll read it. You see, Gajan, seriously, watch what you do. It consequences. Okay.
It almost was a good question, but you ruined it at the very end. This is a serious issue, guys.
Yeah. An unarmed vet and a trans woman disarmed and subdued a mass shooter in Colorado. They did what dozens of armed police could not do in Uvalde. Should there now be a state-funded trans woman and a vet at every school to prevent future mass shootings?
No, the answer is no.
No. No, of course
not. No, but why wouldn't you make this a better question that could have been I don't know, we could have discussed this issue a bit more seriously. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Do you understand this question?
I really tried, and I'm not 100% positive what you're getting at, Oxymoron. I think what you're trying to say is that there's a lot more newspapers and media outlets in India than there is the United States, and then from there, I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. Are you asking, is that disparity bad? Does that make India more of a freedom of the press thing? I'm not 100% sure, and I also don't know if you're in the chat right now. But if you are, feel free to clarify a little bit.
Let's actually read it, and then
what Oxymoron is saying about the continued decline of local TV news stations and or local newspapers and or magazines, yada yada yada, in the United States, is 100% true. They've just been falling by the wayside for a few decades now and being conglomerated into one of a handful large organizations. Basically any news station that's a local news station in the United States these days is run by a massive conglomerate called Sinclair Broadcasting. And they literally just write scripts and they hand them to news anchors all across the country, and they say exactly the same words. So I agree it's a problem. Does that mean India's doing better? I don't know. I don't know.
Why is the question so long? Can you guys keep the question shorter? Look at this. God damn it. I think Oxymoron is trying to get to why India is better than the US again. Is that basically it?
I wasn't 100% positive, honestly. It just felt like they were comparing Indian newspapers and TV outlets and stuff with American, and how many we each had.
The numbers, if that's what the argument is, numbers doesn't tell you everything, because America's news media is by far superior. As bad as it is, it's by far superior to India's. India is just a clown show. You have you have more channels, but you have more stupid. I was going to use the R word. It's just a circus. It's just a circus. It's just crazy. India is just like as somebody who's seen how the news is made in India, there are only a few high quality objective ones that you can rely on. So I'll go over quality over quantity. So no, oxymoron is saying no, it's not, and it's far less self-reflection. Okay, so what is not? Like, I think you're not being clear about what it's not. It's not like your attempt to make India look better, or are you saying no, it's not better?
And I don't think that just because there are more newspapers or news outlets in general, I don't think that means more self-reflection. It could just be more echo chamber, right? Like it would depend on the quality of the actual news itself, right? So
the news. So we have the media, the news media, and the entertainment media in India, and the entertainment media in India is a little bit left leaning, and the news media in India is a little bit right leaning, right? So you have Bollywood versus the news, right? Bollywood being lefty, a little bit lefty, and I know. Before you get angry in the comments, I know I'm simplifying it. That's the point. I'm just giving you a simple version of it. That's true. Let's just a couple of non-Patreon questions because I finished the Patreon question, and then we go to. Actually, before I read this, I'm going to post a link to anybody who wants to come up. As if you are a YouTube member, you could come up here. Hold on, let me. Why are you laughing?
Because I'm 3 words into this thing, and I just see the name Bill Jensen again, and I'm just dying, and I'm just like,
wait, Bill Jensen again?
Yes, no, this is our friend Pointless Fudge, and you know what, Fudge? I want to tell you something. I don't think you're pointless. I think you have a point. I do. I'm with you, and I think your point is to get Armin and Bill Jensen talking. I wish you could just maybe email Bill and just be like.
He needs to email me. I'm not going to do anything if I'm not going to go chase him. I don't have time to chase people. Says Armin, Bill Jensen recently said your book makes no sense and nothing in it is justified. Do you have any comments? He could go screw himself. How about that? But if he wants to talk to me, he can email me. I'm not gonna reach out to him. Anyway, I'm too busy for stupid people. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep talking about this. Okay, yeah. And Mustafa is saying, Gajan, how do you come up with these questions? Yeah, exactly. D saying, what is your take on Turkey going after the YPG in Syria, and what do you think of the YPG in general? So, YPG has a history of terrorist activities. Let's just be clear about that, right? But when Turkey goes after the YPG, they go after a whole bunch of innocent Kurdish people, not just YPG. And there are YPG members who are not terrorists, but the organization is linked to a lot of terrorist activities, right? So there's that. So Turkey is attacking the Kurdish parts of Syria and Iraq, I think, right? But Syria for sure. Iran, at the same time, Iran is attacking the Kurdish parts of Iraq as well. So there is Iran and Turkey at the same time attacking the Kurdish parts of Syria and Iraq. So it's not so we know why Iran is doing that. Iran is doing that because there's recent the main parts of Iran that is rising up against the Islamic Republic, like always, it has been the Kurdish parts, and all the protests in Iran has a Kurdish. The chant even Zan Zindagi Azadi, women, life, freedom. It's a Kurdish in origin, and the regime believes that the Kurdish parts of Iran is where the rest of these protests are originating from. That's not accurate because it's all over, but that's what the regime narrative is. And the regime is also trying to distract people from the protest by starting a war with the Kurdish people, who the Kurdish people in Iran have very intelligently refused to do that. So the Iranian regime has been bombing innocent Kurdish people in the Kurdish part of Iran, so that the Kurdish armed militias start a war with the regime, so that they could turn this into a confrontational war rather than an anti-protest. You know, um, they want to change the narrative to war rather than the regime versus protesters, right? And that's why the Kurdish people have been very patient and clever in holding back. And even though they're watching their families and their children dying under bombardment, usually that will cause them to go to retaliate, but they're holding back, which is really difficult to do when you see your family members dying. They're not retaliating because they know that this is a trap, right? So, in the same time, Turkey is now doing the attacking Kurds ever since the bomb attack. Did you saw the bomb attack in Turkey? Which
No.
was, yeah, there was a recent bomb attack in Turkey in the middle of a city, a place where in the street that is very well known in Turkey, and the Turkish government blamed it on the Kurdish movement, and that's why they started these attacks. Um, However, the Kurdish movements in Turkey and Syria have claimed that this is not them. Usually, when you do an attack like that, if it is you, you would want to claim it. So
Yeah,
I don't
normally.
know what to believe.
Yeah. This is
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, please go ahead. You have more knowledge on this. I was going to say I don't have as much knowledge on this as you. So
No. So D is pointing out that the YPG fights ISIS. Yes, they do fight ISIS, and also the YPG is supported by the US, right?
I think so.
And the fact that the US has not come out and supported the Kurdish people even after the YPG has done so much for the United States to fight ISIS and do a lot of other things, makes a lot of people angry with the US. But the US, this is not a good time to anger Turkey either.
Sure.
So that's why the US is not coming in and support. But it just shows to a lot of people that the US, it goes into the narrative that US is not a good ally because you do everything for them as an ally, and then when you need them, when you're being bombarded, they're just like, sorry, you're the person that is bombarding you is actually a bigger ally of ours than you are. So which is Turkey is a NATO member, and right now, and Turkey is very much needed, and especially against Russia. Turkey is sometimes like playing footsie with Russia, but sometimes taking an more aggressive position against them. And you don't want to anger Turkey right now, especially because this is a NATO thing. You have NATO against Russia, and Turkey, as a member of NATO, has a lot of veto power in a lot of things NATO might want to do. So you need them to be in line with whatever like you want to keep Turkey happy about everything. This is why Turkey has managed to convince a lot of European countries to take a more aggressive stance against Kurdish people, because Turkey has made that a condition for them to approve certain things that NATO wants to do against Russia, right? This is why it's so horrible to have Turkey. I mean, you need Turkey as part of NATO, unfortunately.
Imagine
Yeah.
if right now Turkey, got all pissy again and then said they were just going to completely open their borders and just let millions more refugees in all at once like that. Like it would be destabilizing for that area, especially with so many people already, being in that area of the world, moving from other places, and with everything going on in Ukraine and all those people moving and stuff. Yeah, it's a problematic situation all the way around. So
Yeah. Anyways, it's really bad. I mean, the Kurdish parts of Iraq, Syria, and Iran are very confusing to a lot of people because they are it's an ethnic movement, so some people are uncomfortable with that. But at the same time, they have some of the most progressive people, but some of the most religious backward people, and some of the most communist people. And these three things are true for this Kurdish region.
it's such a
Like
mix.
yeah, it's a mix of people. Like some people's confused. Like, oh, We fought
So
Kurdish.
weird.
Why is it all of these strings? Because not all chords are alike, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have it, yeah. So it's, but that's why people get confused. You have some of the most progressive and secular and anti-religious takes from Kurdish people in these regions, and some of the most crazy, commie, and sometimes very religiously Sunni takes as well. So if that's a contradiction, because apparently ethnicity is not a good way for you to figure out how people are supposed to behave or at the attitudes. That's not like
Are you saying that just because somebody has this cultural, historical, and or genetic background that they may not exactly fit into a box, Armin? I don't know. This is a I'll think on this one. I'll think on this.
like,
Yeah.
do you think, in your opinion, Armin, should YPG be considered a terrorist organization? No, because it's just more complicated. That's why I didn't. If you notice how I talked about it, I didn't say they're a terrorist organization. I said they have links to terrorist activities because it has a complicated history, and there are elements with it that there are contradictions within the organization itself. There are certain activities that some people associate with and some other people don't agree with. So it's just, I don't know. You can't judge the entirety of it as a terrorist organization. They have links to the PKK, and they share members with each other, and you can't deny that connection. But I don't know if it makes sense, especially given that they have been fighting ISIS and they have people within it that are not at all in in it, that are not at all interested in terrorist activities against innocent people. I don't think you could judge the entire organization as a terrorist organization, but I might be wrong about that. When it comes to the utility of it, you have to talk to experts. I do think like United States does need them in the region. So if you just think about it from a utility perspective, marking him as a terrorist organization will be devastating to U.S. interests in the region. So I don't think maybe you shouldn't be doing that. And this is a major contention between Turkey and the United States, by the way. Okay, let's just do just a few more and then move on. How would you answer this? Would you say that we are at the door of a global conflict that could facilitate a change in humanity forever? Which of our current conflicts do you think it can lead to a change crisis that critical? Taiwan, definitely.
Yeah.
Ukraine and climate change.
No.
Taiwan, Ukraine, and climate change. Can you think of anything else? And Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ramifications from what happens with either the complete toppling of the regime or an intense crackdown where they're allowed to just slaughter citizens with no recourse from the international community. But yeah, Taiwan and China for sure could bubble over into some stuff that wouldn't be good. Depending on what happens with Ukraine, whether it's appeasement or whether it's, just an outright nuclear strike or something. It's hard to answer this one way or the other, because I kind of feel like if you read through the history books, like the entire last 100 years, at any point in time, if you randomly picked a day, you could make an argument that we were right on the door of a complete and total, global conflict that destroys everything.
Well, not necessarily destroy, change maybe. Like,
Okay. Yeah,
the Ukraine one might even change things for the better. Like we could see.
Same with climate change and Iran and Taiwan and China, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for me to see the interconnectedness that the globe has right now, not only in terms of economics, but politics, as well as just actual people. Like a lot of people just have friends in other countries that they've never met before, like in person, right? And so I think that is going to make it a hell of a lot harder to have some global conflict in such a degree that we had with, World War I, World War II, or way back when we had all the countries, stealing land and having colonies fighting and stuff. It's hard to see that exactly coming back. But at the same time, maybe that's just the bias because we've actually lived in such a relatively peaceful time for the last, 50 some odd years. But,
Yeah. I mean, if you want to think about it, each one individually, the Ukraine one might actually lead to things becoming better because it would be a major defeat for people who are challenging the liberal order and the standards that we have in place, right? So that is going in our favor right now. Things might change if, as Secularization says, if it goes nuclear, then that would goes from a good story to a bad story like that. The Taiwan situation is very significant. It is basically the biggest conflict that we're seeing right now when it comes to the biggest powers on the planet taking positions against each other.
That would be bad.
Yeah, I mean, even right now, it's already started, right? Like the whole idea of who's going to win this conflict, or because they cannot have stalemate forever, right? It's basically challenging the, the 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 idea of, can you force your way into this, just sidestep all these standards and norms that we have and just use might as a way to enforce your way. Or is that the old way have been, or are we moving to a post World War II world where just basically not just colonialism but neo-colonialism is not able to happen anymore, and it's just like every country is going to be taken seriously when it comes to their sovereignty and independence, at an almost equal footing when it comes to their rights on an international stage. Are we moving to that direction or are we not? Okay, and Taiwan is going to basically be setting that standard. Okay, because that's where all this big play is happening. Iran also. If there's a toppling of the regime in Iran, that's going to significantly change world politics, because it's going to significantly change the entirety of the Middle East, right? And every neighboring country in that region, right? So, and the biggest one of them all is climate change, I think, whether we do something about that or not.
I think that's going to, next handful of years, we're going to really start seeing some bad ramifications, and what that is going to, the strains that is going to put on not only individuals, but the nation as a whole, economics, infrastructure, all of these different things. That's probably going to be the biggest game changer. And, we'll see if we end up taking it seriously. But
yeah. Gaijin American is asking, what resources do Armenians have now that they are being stumped by Azerbaijan? Very little, actually. They have very little allies. Unfortunately, Azerbaijan is backed by Turkey, by Israel, by who else? Yeah, I mean, these are the major two allies. Who does Armenia have? Armenia is supposed to have Russia, but Russia is not doing anything because Armenia and Russia are part of CSTO. Is that how you say the Russian versions of NATO? CSTO. Yeah, CSTO, right? So Armenia and Russia are both part of CSTO. So Russia is supposed to be defending them, but that's not happening. Which shows that the whole idea of CSTO being something like NATO, it was a joke, and that's why Armenia is trying to get closer to Western countries, because screw the CSTO, that has gotten me nothing. And obviously the reason why it's getting them nothing is because Russia is busy fighting its own war, so it cannot come and defend other countries like Armenia in a situation like that. But it wasn't even defending Armenia before the Ukrainian war started. There's that. Armenia is also getting some support from Iran, which is, a lot of people might be confused because Azerbaijan is Shia, Iran is Shia, Armenia is Christian. So you would think that Iran would take Azerbaijan's side, not Armenia's side. But given that Azerbaijan is ethnically Turkish, and the Turkish movement in Iran, some of it, not all of it, has some separatist elements within it. This whole Azerbaijan conflict right at the border of Iran is very nerve-wracking for Iranian officials that might, the Turkish. I don't know if you know this. The Turks have been in the past couple of years very interested in expansionist policies. Yeah, they are Turkish. There's this pan-Turkish attitude that wants to bring all the Turks together and bring back the Ottoman Empire, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And there are many Turks in the northwest of Iran, and the idea of the Greater Turkey, if you look at the map that they have of not Turkey, Greater Turkey includes parts of Iran, the Turkish parts of Iran, right? So, and I just recently saw that map being shown on Turkish national TV, and people were like flirting with the idea of quite openly.
Sweet.
Which, yeah. So this is not
That's
good.
cool.
Like,
yeah, just openly saying like, hey, we're just gonna start taking part of this country and this country. Like, oh, good God.
And they're looking at like conflicts in Iran right now, and they might be like, hey, maybe like this is a good time. I don't know. So this is why. And by the way, the Iranian regime loves this because the Iranian regime wants to make this fight about like securing borders rather than oppressing the people, right?
Yeah, they can use it to their advantage.
Yeah, so they want this to be turned into a war, and they're actually poking at Azerbaijan in a way to start a conflict so that they could divert the attention away from the protests, right? But yeah, I mean, that's why maybe Armenia would get some support from Iran, but I don't know. Iran is not the type of ally that Armenia. I don't know. Armenia has been left alone, like abandoned by so many people. Yeah. But so Turkey and Azerbaijan being part of this whole pan-Turkish, because again, even though Azerbaijan has the religion of Iran, it has the ethnicity of Turkey. Even though Turkey is Sunni and Azerbaijan is Shia, in these war games, ethnic unity matters more than religious unity right now in this region, right? And that's why Azerbaijan feels a lot more closer to Turkey than it feels to Iran, right? And in fact, in Azerbaijan, there's a lot of the Shia mosques sometimes are seen as Iranian agents. So there's a there's a crackdown on that a little bit in Azerbaijan. So people are like, oh, this is a fifth column. They're using Hussein as a way to sneak in some of the Irani politics into our country, right? So they're careful about that. But yeah, we'll see, because Azerbaijan and Turkey are acting like they're one nation under two flags, right? And they want to eventually turn this into a empire. Well, just in the same way that Iran was trying to use Shia Islam as a way to build. So Iran tries to build the Iranian empire using Shia Islam as Shia Crescent, right? And Turkey is trying to use the Turkish ethnicity as a way to bring back the Ottoman Empire. Yeah. So this is quite historic, because these are the two empires that used to fight with each other. Like the Ottomans and the Persians were fighting with each other for a very long time, right? And before, like the Byzantine and the Persian Empire before that, and the Romans and the Persians before that. So this is kind of like, if you go Turkey trying to build a pan-Turkic empire, and Iran trying to build a Shia empire, and that these two going to war with each other, going to conflict with each other, that's just like reliving, bringing back the ancient conflict that keeps repeating itself from, the Achaemenids against the Romans, and then, the Sassanids against the Romans again, and then it's just like Ottoman. It's just like, why did this right across the, I don't know exactly where, but right from east and west of Istanbul, is you see this conflict between two empires keep repeating itself, which is interesting if this happens again in the future. Yeah. Anyways, we have to move on. Do you have any comments about this before we bring Oxymoron?
No, it's very, very fascinating. Very, very interesting for sure. And I would just probably say that trying to build an empire at all is just not a good idea. So
not a good idea. Yeah, that's like, this is why you need to, you're true.
My thoughts. So, I don't know. Maybe that's
good point. Okay. All right, let's bring Oxymoron. Hey, Oxy.
Hey.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm great. So the press, the media thing I was talking about. So I mean to say the personal stories that are covered by a very decentralized kind of network, they are much more than if we compare it to United States. So most of time when the data is collected, it's not really collected from the actual sources. It is collected through these outlets like news. So the, that creates a certain kind of bias in data. So that leads to different kind of perception about different countries. So if we analyze real data, I mean, like the agencies that collect data, uh, opposed to personal stories, which generally media generally likes over like real data, it skews the perception of nation, and that makes that puts certain nations in particularly vulnerable spots.
Yeah, but the United States has a rich media of people who do the fact checking, and we have fact checkers, we have people who critique the
Yeah.
media. I think like the misinformation in the United States is not because of the lack of available media that give you the correct information.
Mhm.
It's the people who decide to consume the media that is biased or gives you bad information, right? But
And
when it comes to the availability of information and the media that is doing its job, we have and not more than enough in the United States. It's the problem is the people. But yeah,
and
secularity.
I would just say also I think one of the issues is the proliferation of such platforms and sites in which they are not at all regulated in the same way that major news outlets are. So like Facebook specifically went through a whole court process to say that it's not a publisher, because if it was a publisher then it would have to take down misinformation. So the fact that our laws hasn't necessarily caught up with the technology too, I think is a big part of it for sure in the proliferation of misinformation. But I guess I'm still not 100% clear on what you're getting at with the disparities in the media outlets and stuff. It almost sounded like you were saying that because there's more outlets in the Indian system, that there's more personal stories and that's better. Or was I misinterpreting that? Because again, I'm still a little confused
No,
as
no,
to
no, no.
kind of what you're
I'm
getting
just
at.
comparing between the two systems.
Oh, okay. You're just showing
So
the disparities between them. Okay.
yeah, so and how if we pit one against another, one could one could be put into much vulnerable spots. So even if we assume that United States media is better, why is that an assumption?
Okay, first of all, I do believe that both of them have enough for people to be able to choose
Yeah.
to get the correct information, to be honest, right? Like I've seen enough media in India that does an amazing job, okay? And enough media in the United States that does an amazing job, right? So the options are there for people to who want to get the correct information.
No,
Um,
so the media in US, it's generally controlled by like six oligarchs. 90% of the media is controlled by six oligarchs. So it changes the way the self censorship works in media outlets. So the information
I
is already filtered out.
Yeah,
Which
I do see a bigger filter. Okay, so in India, okay, I do see a right-leaning bent in towards right in on the news, right? In United States, I do see a more diversity of attitudes in the news
Not
when it comes to
necessarily.
it.
Most of the media that is in India, it's left leaning, actually.
No, they didn't hear. Okay, see, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I didn't say media. I said news media. Yes, media in India is both left and right. Especially entertainment media in India is left. The entertainment media in India has actually a left-leaning bent, right? But the news media in India has a right-leaning bent, does it not?
No. Most
That's what I.
media, if you do
That's
the numbers, most media would be the left, but Modi wins because of social media.
You don't,
It's not the tradition.
are you not, you keep saying most media is
Oh,
left.
okay. The news media is very left biased, most of
Okay.
it.
That's not what I
So
heard.
it just depends how the media is funded.
See,
The
like
most
people from India are confirming that what I'm saying is right. Like you're saying, the news is very right. Some people are saying like Yahtzee, right, and
No.
Nazi, right. But that's not only what I'm not just making this up. Like that's what I'm saying based on reports that I've read.
okay.
So maybe
So
maybe oxymoron, because you are very right leaning yourself, maybe it doesn't come across to you as the news media being right leaning, having a right leaning bent.
no,
Guys in the live
I
guys
have
in the live
reason
chat.
to say that.
But okay,
So
but I
basically,
wanted,
there are, if we cleave the media into right and left,
see, like,
left
you see
media
again.
isn't.
No, like, hold on. Like, more people in the live chat. PK is saying most people in the live chat are agreeing with me. Most people from India saying they're questioning you. They're saying most news media in India is left? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? What the hell? Please name. So yeah,
Okay,
a lot of
so
people are
can
saying
you
your
name
take
me
is
right-leaning newspapers?
Well,
Nikki in the live chat. Nikki also from India saying no oxymoron. Most India media is right. Okay, so see, I was
yeah.
most Indians are agreeing with me in the live chat.
Okay, so the the mainstream media, there's nothing like mainstream media. Actually, there's left media and the right media. So the left media is generally institutionally funded, and the narratives are carried over globally in general. And there's a right-leaning media, which is generally very popular and actually kind of self-funded. So the
Okay,
difference is that
Oxymoron, I don't know what to believe because I've seen your takes on other things that I know something about, and they were very wrong, right? And I don't.
let me give example of this.
Hold on, no, hold
So
on. But I don't know if your examples are correct. Okay, I just right now, if I apply Occam's razor, I'm going to trust the reports I read on Indian media more than what you say because of the history of the claims you have made before, right? So I don't know how to, because I don't know the name of the medias in India, okay, and I don't consume India's media as much as you do, right? All I have is the report that I go, and I'm going to trust that over what I know you're going to give me a whole bunch of data and a bunch of examples, but I don't know. I don't think I'm in a position to trust you over the reports that I've read.
okay, that's fair. Uh,
Okay.
but okay, then yeah, if we don't give example, so what media the right of generally both left and the right of US generally they validate the left media of US. So doesn't that make it mainstream in a way? Because
What do you mean?
say let's say USARF reports, they generally go heavily on the Queen, the Wire, the Print. So these are kind of left-wing media outlets. So Fox News is kind of popular in United States more than CNN, but that means, but from global narrative perspective, generally CNN is preferred. So what
Yeah, but in the
makes
United States,
mainstream
but
media?
okay, but in the United States, right-leaning media is very popular. Both
Yeah.
left-leaning media is popular, has its own fans, and right-leaning ones
Yeah.
has its own fans. What's your point?
So I'm saying this from the global narrative perspective.
Okay,
So
and
Are you
yeah,
just saying how the rest of the world perceives the media? Is that what you're talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
Oh,
So the global media would generally lean towards CNN,
yeah,
and
yeah, probably.
because people globally are not as insane as
That's also
as
just because
Republicans.
CNN has a pretty hardcore global focus that has been kind of
Yeah,
their
yeah, we have
thing.
CNN
Yeah.
International.
Whereas Fox News is very much specifically
Focused on
focused on the
America.
United States, as is the National Broadcasting Corporation, NBC. So like those definitely, and then the other big newspapers in our area, like in the U.S. or just news outlets, like aren't ours. Like the Guardian and the Observer are not American, but they have branches. You know,
And
Reuters
Gauge
is, I
American,
guess.
yeah, and also Gauge American brings up a good point. The media in the U.S. appears left because the right has abandoned sanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point because like a lot of the right-leaning media news in the United States has a lot of fans and viewers, but for the people who don't consume it, they completely dismiss it because it's just insane. It's just cuckoo land, right? So you might think like, oh, most of the media is left-leaning, but because you just ignore all it has gone to the point of insanity. I mean, like, I do think like being anybody fan that is a fan of Fox News or Republican in general in the U.S. is completely insane now, right? That's how like so. If you just dismiss those people, it might look like everything is left-leaning because we don't have a rational right-leaning movement in the United States for us to take seriously. That's why it looks more left-leaning.
Yeah, because so much of it is flirted with.
I have a final question. So generally, the left liberal media that has generally of US that has been a propaganda outlet for United States. For example, New York Times was involved in denying genocide of Jews, and it was controlled by Jew, but it was actively involved in
I've seen
denial of
more
Jew.
media. I've seen more media from the United States that is critical of U.S. policies than almost any other country in the goddamn world, right?
Sure.
So yes, you could find examples of media stories that is pro-U.S. policies.
Yeah.
But when it comes to being a self-critical country, United States is one of the top ones out there.
Even in the stuff that we pay for in the public broadcasting PBS and stuff, like we pay for that as the U.S. citizens. That's our tax money. So we write a check to them every year, and they still do exposés talking about how bad our government is. So I mean, not all the time, but yeah.
Yeah, especially if in the left-leaning media, which you say is like the mainstream now, if that's the mainstream, the left-leaning media is way more critical of the U.S. policies than the right-leaning ones, to the point of sometimes being too critical, to some points to the point that sometimes it's not just critical, it's just promoting hatred towards America. Like we have American media promoting more anti-American attitude than the media of any other country that I've ever seen. So it's literally the exact opposite of what you're saying,
Depends. So let's say case of Iraq. So every single media outlet of US, so every single outlet of United States was actually indulged in promoting and justifying and making environment to invade Iraq, which wasn't the case with France or Germany or any other place.
Hold up, that's not. Hold up, real quick. You can finish, but seriously, that is not true. That is not true that every single media outlet before the invasion of Iraq was a mouthpiece for invading Iraq. That just flat out is not true. So I know that is not the case. I just know that. I was alive. So I watched news in the United States. So that is not true.
I was just reading about those
ultimately, once a war was started, yes, there was a lot more of that rallying around the troops and patriotism and nationalism bullshit. Yeah, totally. But to just outright say that every single news outlet was in favor of invading Iraq is just flat out untrue. It just is. Yeah. You can just Google it right now.
Also, how I notice how I talk about general trends and you talk about examples, right? If you want to use examples as a way to make a broader point, then you can find examples for everything.
Yeah.
That's not how to make an argument. I'm talking about the general attitude of United States media is more critical of its government than I have seen in most other countries, right? And you keep trying to disprove that by giving me.
I'm
not finished. I wasn't finished. You're trying to disprove my general trend that I'm pointing to by giving me specific examples. That's not how to make an argument.
Okay, but you aren't backing with evidence, nor am I. With the trends and examples are same thing. If you are not backing it with evidence.
Okay, well, here we're making claims and you're making claims, okay?
Yeah.
So even if you're not backing your claims with data, even your claims are not a contradiction to my claim, right? Even if you're not coming up with data to back up your claim, I'm not even saying that you don't have data for your claim. Let's assume your claim is true. Let's assume your entirety of your claim is true. Your claim by itself does not contradict my claim.
Yeah,
So
so I was making
if
this
I
time.
say, for example, if I say most most geese are white, right? And then you say, no, I found a black one. That does not contradict what I just said. You're saying like, well, you don't have data for what you're saying, and I don't have data for what I say. I don't care. Even if we had data, like even if we're presenting data right now, even if we assume my claim is true, and we assume your claim is true, your claim does not contradict my claim.
I'm
You
using
find
example to back up a train.
well, you can't. Examples do not make trends.
Right.
It's basically saying like I am using the example of a black goose to show that your claim of a trend of most geese being white is wrong. That's not how it works. Even if you find me an example of a black goose, my claim that most geese are white is not contradicted.
Does that make sense, Oxy? Does that make sense what Armin was
Sort of,
saying?
but
Okay, so
examples help.
let me try. No,
Examples
so
help.
they do, and that's what Armin's saying. If we're being 100% charitable with everything you're saying and all of the examples, and we're saying they are 100% true, what he's saying is at the end of the day, the claim that he is making, let's just use the newspapers in India, right? The claim that Armin is making, let's say, is the majority out of 100, over 50 of these are going to be right wing. And you say, haha, here is one example of a newspaper that is left wing. Does that actually push back on what Armin said about the majority of them being right wing, right? That
I'm not.
one newspaper.
Okay, so I'm generally making a broader point with example. I'm also claiming that this is a trend. We are just in contradiction with what amounts to
Okay.
trend and
If
what
you
doesn't.
if it's a trend, then like maybe there's a study that you could convince
Then we
me
can
with.
just put data against data, right?
Yeah.
I actually tried looking up. I mean, and I just, just typed one or two things in on the internet. So it's not like I've done a bunch of research in the 20 minutes up here or anything. But I actually tried to see if there was like, because we do this in the United States a lot too, where we have an independent third party source that goes around and like polls these places and like takes their various policies and ideologies and like puts them on a political spectrum. I was trying to see if I could find one of that, something like that for Indian media, but didn't exactly get it in this time. But if you have that, please, like next Q&A, like post that. We'd love to look at that. So
Yes, I will try if there's
By the
something
way,
like that.
no oxymoron. No offense, but Asian American is saying if oxymoron is a fascist, of course all the media in India is left wing. So we should have said if you're right leaning, but but he's joking. Obviously. He's joking.
It's okay.
No. But yeah, maybe actually
Okay, can we do a perception game?
maybe no that was supposed to be the Iraq one was supposed to be the last point. Okay, but I just want to say like maybe you're right. Maybe all the news media in India is left leaning, but left leaning to you, like left of oxymoron. So maybe that's maybe that's why yours and that's how you're saying it. Maybe relative to your politics are left leaning.
Yeah, that could make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we should head out. And thank you, Oxymoron, for the interesting discussion.
Always fun.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. All right. So that was that, guys. If you guys want us to answer your question next week, please consider becoming a patron. Link in the description. And the way it works is that we post the link to the stream a day or two ahead of time. And on Patreon, as a patron, you could post your questions as a comment under the Patreon post. You have to go through a whole bunch of nude blasphemous art to scroll down to find the post.
You'll be okay, I promise.
You'll be okay. Okay. To find the post to our stream, because we post a lot of beautiful, sexy blasphemous art. So once you have the link, the post on Patreon to the stream, just write your questions as a comment under it, and we'll highlight them here every week, and we read them as questions. Oh, we have an offended Hindu here asking us to stop our store.
Oh,
No. Yeah.
man.
Request denied.
Is that the store that sells like T-shirts of Kali, real sexy or something, like super
Yes,
hot?
guys. Yes. Go figure out what is in our store that
Yeah.
people want to stop. Okay. Check
Yeah.
out our store. We have T-shirts of sexy goddesses. We have Hindu goddesses and figures from Indian mythology kissing each other and doing all sorts of sexy stuff to each other on beautiful T-shirts. We have a sexy Kali T-shirt. We have Kali and Sita kissing each other on a shirt. It's one of our best shirts out there. It's beautiful. Link to our T-shirt store in the description. We have a sexy Kali T-shirt. Make sure that's a famous one. So make sure you get that one as well. Oh yeah, we have Kali and Muhammad as well. So yeah.
All very hot. Just
yeah. Thank you, by the way, for the opportunity to let us promote the store. All right. Okay, guys. And like and subscribe. And news is coming in a few days with Susanna. And leave a comment and hit the bell notification. All right. Bye.